My name is Misha BRYAN, and welcome to Session Stories.
Ooh, Session Stories.
Welcome back to Session Stories. So, in the last video, I'd left it off where I performed at Live 8 with Roxy Music, which was amazing. And after that, Brian and I, like it was just me and Brian, the band, me and Roxy, we all went off across the world to do many more gigs. I will mostly base this video about stuff that I did with Brian because I was with him for a very long time, and so many amazing experiences came out of my time working with him. We went everywhere. We went all around Europe and the UK. We went to like the Balearics, and where else did we go? Serbia a lot, Russia really a lot, backwards and forwards for corporate gigs, loads. Went to Kazakhstan, Australia and New Zealand. That was actually with Joan Armour Trading. They were doing a double header thing, which was amazing. So I'd watch Joan every night, and she's so good with an audience. I remember the first gig that we did was Perth Zoo, and I got to stroke the neck of a giant tortoise. Turtle? Which one's the wet one? And it was so cute. Guy Pratt and I, we were walking around the zoo together, and the tortoise loves having its neck stroked. So like if you're kind of just doing whatever, like eating some lettuce or whatever tortoises eat, and then as soon as you start stroking its neck, it'd be like, and close its eyes and let you stroke its neck. It was a bit odd because I was like, isn't it a bit weird for the animals that we are disturbing their peace and quiet in the middle of the night? But we were assured by the zookeepers that they'd be fine with the level of noise. So yeah, it was really cool. Australia and New Zealand were really interesting. Like the green is different in those countries, isn't it? Especially in New Zealand, you see plants and you think, God, this is amazing. All of these crazy but fantastic experiences that I've had on the road will be something that will stay with me forever. Especially with Brian, because the poshness of it all as well. Let's just talk about that. It's not like doing a function gig down the Dog and Duck, is it? It's like really posh. There'd be some hotels. We opened the Mandarin Oriental in Hong Kong, I think it was. And I remember we came in on the plane, and like there's like this much space between the buildings to fly into Hong Kong. Like the plane's this big, and you think, are we gonna make this? It's all a little bit Mission Impossible. But it was so amazing. It was like stepping into the future. Really cool. And I think it was there where we'd just come out of the tour bus, and someone goes, Miss Brian, can I take your bags? And we're still on the street, and I'm like, wow, this is something else. This is posh now. I'm ruined. I was like, ruined forever. You know my name, and we're not even in the hotel. We're not even checked in yet. So that was really cool. And so, I mean, yeah, just being in Hong Kong, it was like stepping into the future. The buses were amazing. The architecture was ridiculous. The shops, just because I was a shopper back then. Not so much now. I've calmed down. I've eased down on the shopping. The shops were ridiculous. Walking around at night felt really safe, and it was just really pretty. They really thought about kind of the vibe of the city for people. So walking around was really cool. Where else did we go? Gosh, so many places. I'm trying to think of places that stand out, really. Oh, going to Sydney was pretty amazing, I've got to say. When we went to Sydney, what was my hair? My hair must have been braided, right? Because we got into clubs for nothing, because people thought that I was Serena Williams. So obviously, because people thought I was Serena Williams, I hand that up wickedly. I was like, yeah. I'm just here on like a tennis tour kind of thing. Ridiculous. I would get into loads of places like for no money, even though I look nothing like Serena Williams. But you know, we won't get into that one. We don't all look the same. That's just something to point out.
Session Stories.
Another amazing thing about Sydney was just turning the corner and then there's the Opera House. And then turning another corner and then there's the Harbour Bridge. It was just ridiculous. And I used to walk around and do a little bit of shopping, of course. And one of the sad things about going on tour sometimes is that your people aren't with you to enjoy that. So I'd be like a proper tourist when I was on tour, taking photos of everything, photos. So then when I get back, I can show everybody what I was up to, and then they can kind of enjoy it with me. And I remember there was an offer on to go and climb over the top of the Harbour Bridge. I was like, cool! But even though I'm not 5, I rang my mom and asked permission to go over the Harbour Bridge, and she said no, and I didn't do it. That happened. That actually happened.
Session stories.
Wherever we went to Brisbane, we went to, as I said before, Perth, Sydney. I didn't see much of Brisbane because it was really rainy. It was unbelievably rainy, and I was feeling a bit under the weather as well. So I didn't see much of Brisbane, which was a bit of a shame. And then in New Zealand, we went to Auckland, which is super windy. And then we went to Wollongong as well, which was really nice. But it was fun. It was just fun. And to be so far away from everybody and to be on the other side of the world, and it was one of those things where it was unbelievably expensive to call home and everything. So you'd be like, okay, quick. We just spent 5 minutes. Yes, I'm alive. I'm good. Okay, bye. Like that. And so, like I said in the previous video, it's really important to have all of those little home comforts, those creature comforts around you. You know, bring your version of your Elmo. You know, bring your steamer, bring your nice slippers and stuff. Because, yeah, it can get to be... you can get to be a little bit homesick sometimes. There was one time when we were on tour where I walked into a wall in the middle of the night because I couldn't remember which hotel we were in, and it can get a little bit it's amazing, don't get me wrong, and I wouldn't change it for anything, but sometimes living out of a suitcase can be a little bit like, I just want to stand still now and be still and sit in a sofa and then not have to get up and go and do something else. But the experience, I wouldn't change it for anything at all. So one of the longest stints that we had on tour was for about 10 months, really long. And these are the days when you didn't have to have a standing charge with your energy in it, with your gas and your electricity. So my bills for a quarter would be like £8. It was a joke. It was ridiculous. And one time we came back from tour and my toilet had completely dried out. It was insane. I was like, wow, I've really been gone for a long time. And it would be one of those things where you come back for a week at the most and then just wash your clothes, vacuum clean, and then you'd be back out again. I literally spent hardly any time in my flat in Highbury, which was cool because I was out there singing, and that's exactly what it was that I wanted to do.
Session stories.
So yeah, as I said before, we went all over the place and got treated really well. And obviously, as you're on the tour, you're starting to get more fatigued, and you really have to then come and sit back and lay back on your technique and make sure that foundation stays strong. Lots of people still think like the days of throwing TVs and stuff out the window are still happening. People would still be up to some naughty stuff on the road, but I think generally on the road that we were all pretty good. So technically we have to, as I keep saying, we have to keep coming back and making sure that that foundation is nice and strong, especially when you're flying around a lot. All of that recycled air on aeroplanes, it's like, how many colds have I gotten from just being on an aeroplane? And you get there, you think, oh, I think I might be all right, might have got away with that one. No, you haven't. So it was really cool to have the privilege of landing somewhere, and then maybe having a day off, something like that, and then heading into the gig so your body can just kind of acclimatise and you can settle down into things.
Session stories.
I think another thing to be aware of and to get good at is multitasking as well. Obviously, we can't just sing and just be dead in the face and be like, I'm singing and that's it. You obviously have to give energy to the band, definitely give energy to the artist. If you're singing the BVs, give it energy to the person that you're working with. especially if they're stood right next to you. Don't just be blanking them and be giving it. Don't be doing that. And then you've got to give energy to the audience as well. And also give that energy wherever you're positioned on the stage. Lots of times on the road, I've been downstage left. I've been downstage right. I've been way at the back. The BBs have been together. The BBs have been separate. You know, I've had a chance to move around and kind of just shimmy and do my own thing. So be prepared for all of those changes when you're practicing. Think about the different eye levels that you can be giving to a particular audience. Are they here and level with you? Are they down here? We've got to make sure that the head and the posture stay correct too. Are we up in the circle? Are we looking over here? You know, are we giving some love to the artist over here, or are they over there? You know, making sure that you're ready for anything. Taking if you've got a radio mic, taking it off the stand and working it and making sure that your posture stays good and you're nice and grounded. You know, those kinds of things. But it's also really, really good to be able to split your brain and sing and do other tasks. So many times I've been asked to play percussion, and probably on the Roxy gig is the most percussion I've played on anything ever. There's the classic BV instrument of the tambourine, so that was in there. Then I'd play lots of cowbell. Then there was like a juju kind of shaker thing. Then there's big guiro, wood block, castanets, maracas, so many instruments. So my friend Mark Buckley, hi Mark, he would do sound for BRYAN sometimes, and every now and then he was a drum tech. And he had to build me a table because I had so much percussion. And at about the 22 songs I think it was in the set, I was playing percussion on 20 of them. So obviously I can't just be clanging and banging and scringing and scranging anything. It's got to be in time, you know. You got to hit that cowbell in time with what's going on and sing at the same time sometimes, or put it down and pick something else up, but then look smooth. You know, you can't just head into panic stations and look terrible in your transitions between instruments. So that is a really, really good skill to get into, splitting the brain and making sure that you're able to multitask.
Session Stories.
If you're enjoying Session Stories so far, feel free to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and don't forget to hit the bell icon so you don't miss any future videos.
Session Stories.
When I was lecturing at a university in London, I was tasked with teaching the drummers, guitarists and bassists how to sing backing vocals, which was really, really cool. Some people took to it better than others, but everybody really enjoyed it. And I'm so glad to say that some of my students went on to then be in shows at the national shows on tour, you know, playing their instruments and singing. So I'm so proud that I've got people who've gone off to do that kind of thing, and they wouldn't have gotten that gig if they couldn't sing as well as play their instrument. So the more strings you can have to your bow, the better it's going to be for you and for your career, to be honest. I like playing the percussion. We did one of the early gigs where it was one of the early gigs, and we played LSO. We played St. Luke's with BRYAN, and we were just going to head off on tour, and I'm so loud. Don't be loud like me when you're doing your percussion. Be sturdy, but don't be loud like me, because sometimes they'll be like, Misha, it's excellent, but could you just tone it down a little bit and don't break the beater. And you can see me looking over to Andy Newmark, trying to stay locked in with him and trying to stay in that pocket. It's like I need to see where he's hitting that snare drum so that I'm in time with him, you know. So that's the kind of thing. We're doing teamwork all the time. It's not about just us singing with ourselves and looking fabulous. It's like we are here to make this sound amazing and create fantastic experiences and memories for the people who are watching us at the same time. So yeah, if it's grooving, then people are going to be happy about that. Okay, so while I I was working with BRYAN, we ended up playing at some amazing concerts and venues around the world. Obviously, we played the Albert Hall. We did places like the Isle of Wight Festival. We did concert for Diana, which was amazing as well. That was at Wembley. So that was an amazing experience because obviously every musician wants to play at Wembley Stadium. And when we got the call to do it, I was like, no way, this is so cool. And being myself, I was like, yeah, I'll just get on the tube. I'll just get on the tube. And they were like, no, Misha, I'm going to send you a car. I was like, okay, fine. Getting on the tube, you know. What's wrong with me? And so traveling there, it was lovely. We had a sound check, which was fantastic. And as soon as I walked onto the stage, even though the stage is massive, it felt like home. It's such a weird thing to say because I've played huge stages across the world, but this one felt really homely. Maybe it's just the way it's built and the acoustic of it or something like that. And it felt like you could almost see everybody's faces within the audience.
Session stories.
So we had a lovely sound check. Everything was all good and lovely and nice. And when we came to the actual gig, I believe it was running to time. So that was good. That was novel, wasn't it? And I remember Princes William and Harry being off in the corner in a box somewhere. And I remember BRYAN having to do like a little bow. And I was thinking, do I curtsy? What do we do? And then by the time you thought about all of that, then the moment has passed and then I just didn't do it. So Tom Jones was there. He was right backstage just as we were going on. David Beckham was there with one of his kids. Who else was there? Oh yeah, Fern Cotton was there, just backstage randomly. Maybe she was hosting, I don't remember because we didn't get to see everything. Now, before I go on stage, I always like to have my pre-show wee, right? So I'm not thinking about, oh, I need a wee like midway through the set or anything like that. So we were waiting at the side of the stage at Wembley. We had a little bit of a grumpy liaison woman. Sorry about that, love. Don't remember your name or anything, but you're a bit of a grump. But I really needed to go. So I said to the tour manager, I need to go to the bathroom. So he took me round and I went to the toilet that was at the side of the stage. So I go in, I open the door and I happened to walk in on Donny Osmond having a wee, right? He hadn't locked the door at the side of the stage. And I was like, oh my God, you know, you're trying to look somewhere else. I'm so sorry. And he was beautiful. Like there's some beautiful people in the world. He turned around and his smile was all fabulous and California-y, right? And I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. He's like, it's fine. And so I just shut the door. I was like, oh God, how embarrassing. And then I came out and Fern Cotton was scowling at me, right? I'm thinking, what have I done, Fern? Did you want to see Donny having a wee? Is that what's going on here? And then so I waited and then he came out and he was like, I'm so sorry. But he seemed quite cool about it. And I was like, it's okay. Then I went in and made sure I locked the door after myself. So that was interesting. I didn't see anything, no. I didn't see anything. His dignity was intact. So that was all good. Then went back to the stage and then we were on and it was brilliant. It was so good. The atmosphere was fantastic. I'm sure Princess Diana would have been so proud of her sons for putting on such a fantastic gig. The sun was shining. It was just beautiful and it felt very homely. Really, really homely. I think that's one of the biggest gigs that I've done where I didn't feel particularly nervous. It's always good to feel a little something, isn't it? Because that shows that you care. But sometimes I didn't get the old teeth tingles, so that was really, really good. It just felt like it was an amazing gig. I can't remember exactly which songs we did, but we did Slave to Love, my favourite. And there were models as well on the stage, kind of just looking fabulous and walking between BRYAN and on this big catwalk and everything. And because I'm a bit of a maddie, I was tasked with singing the Jerry Hall part in Let's Stick Together. So I had to do the... just like the record called Misha. Excellent. I was like, thanks, Brian. So yeah, it was fun. It was just like a huge gig with an amazing house band. And then we did it, and then I got my car and went home. And then we were heading off. We didn't really have time. I didn't really have time to kind of dwell on the kind of enormity of the thing, because it's like very much a bucket list thing to play Wembley. And you think, wow, I've done it. And then you think, oh, I've got to get ready for the next bit of the tour now. And you just toodle off and do your thing.
Session stories.
I sang on the Olympia album and Dylan-esque. And we did a DVD as well. So obviously we were promoting that, and then we did like Jonathan Ross. Did we do Graham Norton or anything like that? I can't remember if we did Graham Norton, but we definitely did Jonathan Ross, and we were going to be on Jools Holland as well. And I was like, oh yeah, I always wanted to do Jools Holland and just see how it worked, you know. So that was really, really cool. And it really is filmed in the round like that. You know, you think, nah, it's not. But he really does do all the links between artists, and everyone gets their little cue and everyone's got to play, you know, unless something happens. You know, like the second time that I did Jools Holland, somebody's amp broke. The artist next to us, their amp broke down all of a sudden. It was like, oh, stop, cut, we got to start again. And just Jools did the link and then carried on round. So I'd often go and sit out front with Brian with whatever it was he was doing. Like we were in the green room with him on Jonathan Ross, and then I went and sat out front with him on Jools Holland, just to kind of beef out the audience. And you know Jools is going to come round and talk to the artists as well. So there was me sat at this table, and then Brian is to my right, and to my left is Katie Tunstall, right? And then there's just audience all around us, and it's nice atmosphere, and it's just kind of cool in there, and it's really nice, you know, not too hot as well, because sometimes TV shows can be a bit warm, can't they? Get a bit. But this was a good kind of, it was a good temperature. That's what I remember. That's the main thing, isn't it? To remember when you're on Jools Holland, the temperature was good. What's wrong with me? Now I'm thinking, I don't know what I did, but it might be my blue hair, right? That Jools Holland doesn't like me. I don't know what I did, right? So obviously Katie's here. Brian's here. Jools comes round before we start filming. Says hello to Katie. Blah, blah, blah. Right? I'm getting ready to... nothing. Like I don't exist. Then Towson talks to Brian, right? And then Brian's like, oh yeah, and this is me. And Jools is literally like... Then the second time I did Jools Holland with a different artist, I thought, right, this is it now. Maybe he was just in a hurry first time round, right? And no, he wasn't. The second time, he said literally hello to everybody in the band and blanked me. And you know when you're like, is it me? This guy hates me. Maybe he wanted my blue hair. But we all could have just gone to PAX, Finsbury Park, and got the hair together, Jools. Don't hate me. I didn't do anything. But yeah, it was great. It's just one of those things. You just play it round in the round, you know, and everybody does their thing. And I love doing the TV stuff, you know, where you get one chance at something. I love that, because that is your opportunity to just make it amazing. But then also at the same time, it's your opportunity to be accepting of where you are and whatever it is that leaves your mouth, and be like, oh, that's just how I sounded on that day, or oh, that sounded good, or oh, that wasn't so good, but hey, that's just how it goes. So I love that kind of vibe, which is why I love the acting on TV and film and stuff as well, because it's forever. And then however you feel at that moment in time, and whatever inflections you put onto particular words and stuff, that's it. And I quite enjoy that. And then you do it, and it has its little life, and then you move on. So all the TV stuff, I really, really enjoyed that. And obviously my mum would be taping it and telling all her friends at the nail bar, like winching it in. This is my mum. This is my mum. This is my mum. Speaking of Cerise nail polish, Misha's going to be on Jools Holland. Like, takes completely unrelated things and just winches it into the conversation. But I love you, Mum. Thank you very much. She's very good at promo.
Session Stories.
In the final episode of Session Stories, I'll be talking to you about juggling gigs, staying creative, and how singing has helped me in my acting career. The next episode of Session Stories will be the final episode in the series. So if you have any comments or questions, make sure that you leave them below because there's not much time left. Until next time, happy singing.
Ooh, Session Stories.